announcing its live award ceremony for 2020, which is going to be awarded to Dr. Kailash Satyarthi, Nobel laureate for peace, and one of the greatest economists, Dr. Jeffrey Sachs. And it was great honor and a great privilege that I, introducing Madam President, our boss and co-chaired Madam President Vaira Vike-Freiberga.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you most warmly to this special and very happy occasion, our yearly presentation of the Nizami Ganjavi Award. Some people have said that 2020 has been such a difficult year across the world that they'd be happily striking it out of our calendars. But meanwhile, a great many people have been laboring to make the world a better place. And the world has been surviving. We have all been doing what we can under frequently difficult circumstances. And those who have distinguished themselves in work for humanity deserve our recognition. And this is why we are gathered now virtually for this presentation of the Nizami Ganjavi International Award 2020. Normally, we would all be sitting happily in a banquet room, dressed to the nines, and probably having had a wonderful banquet for dinner. Today, we're each sitting in our more or less distinguished or rather simple working rooms with varying decors in the background. I see that my co-chair Ismail has a most scholarly and impressive background of books. Others of us have, I have seen very interesting things in people's backgrounds. But imagine, we are not together all dressed up in the banquet rooms, but we are live together halfway across the world. The early birds in the United States of America have risen early, and I hope you've had a cup of coffee, and if not, you're welcome to go ahead and have it right now. There you are. So you participate fresh and happy and enjoying the event. Here in Europe, we do have a few hours of difference. In Latvia, it's nearly 4 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock at this time of the year, the sun is already setting. So it's a rather short day. Then Rovshan and the team in Baku are still a few hours ahead, and it's probably already getting dark. We have Dr. Chai here, who I didn't check whether he's in Australia or in China, but you see we are spanning over half of the globe, live, all of us together, and we're gathered virtually to recognize two extraordinary people who, because of their commitment, because of their accomplishments, are being recognized today. And by an award which honors the great poet and sage of the Middle Ages, born in Ganja, hence the name Nizami Ganjavi for our international organization. In order to tell you more about the sage and about the award in his name, I pass the microphone to my distinguished co-chair and wonderful co-worker over the years, Dr. Ismail Serageldin.
Well, thank you so much, Madam President. Welcome, dear friends. Indeed, as Madam President Vaira has just said, we are gathered from the four corners of the earth to go through a ceremony in the name of a great Azerbaijani poet and sage, Nizami Ganjavi. Nizami Ganjavi is a 12th century figure. of enormous magnitude. He was what we call a hakim, a wise man who was a jurist, who was a scientist, who was many things. There's an asteroid named after him. There's many other things that honor that side of him as well, even though he stands tallest of all for his enormous contribution to epic poetry. And it is his masterpiece, the Khamsa, the 5 great stories that he wrote in Masnavi verse, which is 2 couplets of 2 lines each, that captured the imagination of artists till today, and derivative work continues. And some of the greatest names in Western literature, like Goethe, for example, Goethe said what a magnificent person he is for how he spoke not of kings and conquests, although he did discuss the stories of kings, including Alexander the Great and Bahram Gur, but he specifically brought out the human side of it. And so spoke Goethe. And here we're reviving his ethics, because he was a man who stayed far away from the corruption of politics. He visited only once the capital city, and has instructions to his son, whom he loved dearly, that are very similar to what you find in Shakespeare's Hamlet, in Polonius giving advice to his son. And he tells him, stay with the truth, stay with gentleness. So indeed, the center in his name is based in Azerbaijan, and it does dedicate itself to tolerance and dialogue and learning from all cultures of the world. And in so doing, we have decided that we needed also to have a special award for this institution. And this is the highest award that we have. Now, awards generally acquire their importance from the institution giving it, and for the purpose for which it was created. And I think in our time of division and competition, in our time of confrontation and fear, it is very appropriate that the Nizami Ganjavi institution should have an award that salutes great people who have achieved greatly. And if there is an honor that is bestowed by the award, then I also point out that the award derives much of its honor by the recipients. When you look at who the people were who got this award in previous years, and then to this year, you realize that it is an important one. It has gone from a sitting monarch to a hero, military hero who passed away, but who lives in the memories and the respect of everybody. It has had intellectuals, and now today it will have 2 exceptional people. And with that, I think that we will derive great honor from having them be recipients of the Nizami Ganjavi International Center Award. And with that, I will now turn back to our Secretary General, Rovshan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Ismail, dear co-chair. And it's with great pleasure and honor to invite our previous awardee and our Board of Trustees member, Ms. Kerry Kennedy. She is the president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Foundation that we are partnering over the years. Madam Kennedy.
Thank you so much. And it's great to be with everyone this morning and see all of your faces. You know, we're in the midst of the most horrific global pandemic known since the Black Plague. And it will push 150 million people into extreme poverty. But the greatest challenge the world faces in 2021 is not going to be COVID, and it's not going to be the economy. Rather, the greatest challenge is going to be recommitting the people of the world to the fundamental belief that every human being is born free and equal in dignity and rights. And that fundamental belief is the dignity of every person is articulated in the opening lines of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It abhors poverty and commits us to relieving suffering wherever we find it. And it commits us to ending child labor and to exploitation. And it commits us to realizing the goals of the Sustainable Development Goals. It says we must build communities and countries in a globe driven not by greed, but by love. The commitment to dignity and rights has been the driving force of the lives of my dear friend Jeffrey Sachs, the intellectual force behind the Sustainable Development Goals. And the mantra of a man whom I admire more than words can say, my dear beloved friend, Kailash Satyarthi, and of course of the Nizami Ganjavi International Center. As Ismail reminded us, Nizami Ganjavi said, stay with gentleness. These are two men who personify what it means to stay with gentleness. I'm delighted to join you this morning.
Thank you. Ms. Kerry Kennedy, thank you so much for your insights and for your contribution. And it's really extraordinary what we achieved and during all these 8 years. And thanks to the co-chairs and definitely with involvement and participation and support of trustees members and the members, because especially during the pandemic period, Nizami Ganjavi International Center became to be one of the outstanding institutions that turned out to be more active than previously we could be. Now, if I may ask Ms. Kerry Kennedy to present an award to Dr. Kailash Satyarthi.
Sure, thank you. So 23 years ago, I joined Kailash Satyarthi for the Global March on Child Labor. The march started at the site of Gandhi's cremation. And there, etched in stone, is a quote from the Mahatma. And it reads, if you are wondering what to do in life, call to mind the face of the poorest person you have ever met. And if your next step helps relieve that person's suffering, you will walk pure and straight and true. Kailash Satyarthi has given his life to relieving the suffering of the poorest people on earth and to abolish the scourge of child labor, where 168 million children are forced to work instead of going to school. All his life, he has walked pure and straight and true. He and his band of brothers and sisters have personally freed over 100,000 people, mostly children 5, 6, 7 years old, from child labor. This goes beyond passing laws and meeting with legislators and talking to kings. He does all of that as well. But the heart of that work is getting up in the middle of the night and going and getting clippers that can clip a bicycle chain and then knocking down the wall of a factory in some godforsaken place and walking into a room full of children who are manacled to weaving looms or stone cutters and clipping those manacles and literally taking those kids into his arms and bringing them to freedom. That has been the heart of his work. But he doesn't just free those kids and put them out on the street. He brings them to his home. And I've been to that home, and it's amazing. It's a place filled with people who have the worst suffering on earth, children in child labor. And it is a place of utter joy and rejuvenation and education and empowerment. And you see those kids understanding that they are valuable and they have dignity and they are worthy and they are full of love. And then he sends them back into either their villages or others once they're adults. And they train families in how to stop child labor. It is an extraordinary model. Kailash has freed more people from slavery through both his personal interventions, like breaking down those factory floors, doors, and through the legislation that he's passed. He's freed more children from child labor than anyone in modern history. And he's freed so many that his only competition is probably Abraham Lincoln and Moses. He's the architect of the single largest civil society network of the most exploited children, the Global March on Child Labor, which is a worldwide a coalition of children's organizations, teachers' unions, and trade unions. And his efforts have led to the adoption of ILO Convention 182 on the worst forms of child labor. Of course, we all know he won the Nobel Prize. He does all of his work with peace and calm and always driven by love. And it gives me the greatest honor to be here today with my great friends at the Nizami Ganjavi International Center to present this award to you, Kailash.
Dear Ms. Kennedy, thank you so much. It was really great to have your comments, and it was so important, valuable to have you in 2018 to receive our award with current president of Afghanistan. And now, before going to the award, I would like just to present the videos that we prepared for the award ceremony. If you allow me.
Please.
I don't know. I don't know. 1 second. Söndür. Söndür derim tamamen. Söndür. Ilaha görünür. İlaha görsene video. İlaha video görsənir.
Named after the great poet Nizami Ganjavi, the national hero of Azerbaijan, who from the 12th century wrote about values in a way that is truly timeless.
Nizami, who lived at the turns of the 12th and 13th century, was not just a remarkable epic poet, he was also a sage, a scholar, and a scientist for his day.
We in Azerbaijan highly appreciate your activities, your efforts in building dialogue between nations and countries.
Beliefs, values, vision. That's what Nizami Ganjavi was about. That's what Nizami Ganjavi International Center is about. It's a great idea.
Is to find some way to solve problems, manage processes, achieve stability without a single superpower, without a dominant hegemon.
Global problems need global solutions. Global cooperation, the only way forward. This great international center is built around the principle that we do best when we work together instead of working on our own.
As a child, Nizami Ganjavi's poetry inspired discipline, imagination, and learning. I couldn't be more honored and pleased to receive this award. Thank you.
That's what this organization is about. Look around this room. These are people who are working together because you love humanity and because you believe, as my father did, that politics is an honorable profession.
We came tonight in a tradition to award the NGAC very precious award this year for extraordinary achievements of extraordinary men. The Honorable, unforgettable Senator McCain. You know him very well. We worked with him, not just myself. We had, all of us, meetings with him. He was by our side. He was helping, he was supporting, he was giving us hope, he was giving us strength.
Words for our special dignitaries that have been so thoughtful and so generous in your love and your honor of him. And please also note how grateful I am for this prestigious award.
Also, your support to Nizami Ganjavi International Center is helping promotion of peace, development, and knowledge. I'm proud and honored to share with you some of your life activities.
And we are so happy and proud to co-develop.
In this room today, we have an outstanding intellectual potential, which actually is a reflection of the importance of the forum.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you. And, you know, last night I asked Ismail what one of his favorite quotes from Nizami was. And he talked about Nizami saying that each time you go to a different country or learn about a different culture, it's like a pearl. Each one is a pearl with its own wisdom and its own beauty. And he said that I've strung all these pearls together, and that's changed my life. And I think that all of us here today come from different countries with different perspectives, and this organization is stringing us all together towards a better future, a future of based on love and human dignity and human rights and democracy, and that's why I'm happy to be here today. Thank you very much.
The sustainability is not possible without investing in our children.
Investing in our children means investing in present and investing in future and all the generations to come.
And John F. Kennedy said, I think the most remarkable and basic truth for us. He said, so let us not be blind to our differences, but let us also direct attention to our common interests and to the means by which those differences can be resolved. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air, we all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. We tried to do our best with that, and now we are like having a medal of Dr. Kailash Satyarthi, Ms. Kerry, and Dr. Kailash.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Now, Madam President Vaira, Your Excellency Ismail, my dear brother Rovshan, Kerry, and Jeff, I am humbled and honored to receive this award in the name of a great poet and philosopher and humanitarian, Nizami Ganjavi. I am especially privileged to receive this award from someone who has been a great inspiration and a strength in my life since 1990. Good times and bad times, she stood by me and supported me. Kerry, thank you very much. I also feel honored to receive this medal alongside a great intellectual, but a great humanitarian, Jeff. Thank you so much. This recognition is not just for me. By conferring this award, you are recognizing the most marginalized, the most neglected, the most exploited, the most abused children who are suffering as slaves and prostitutes and child labor. Those who are trafficked, sold and bought like animals, and sometimes in lesser prices than the animals. But you are also recognizing all my colleagues and my friends, my co-workers. This is an award in the recognition of Martyr Dhundas, Martyr Adarsh Kishore, and Martyr Kalu, who sacrificed their lives in my organization for freeing children from slavery, for the dignity, rights, and freedom of human beings, particularly children. So on behalf of all my family and my colleagues, I thank you, Nizami Ganjavi International Center. Dear friends, this year, as Kerry pointed out, our children are facing the most horrifying crisis. Though the children are not directly affected so much through this COVID-19, but this crisis has a risk that we lose the entire generation if we not act now. A billion children, more than a billion children are out of school today. almost half of them have no access to online education. Over 380 million children, school-going students, were highly dependent on school feeding programs or other conditional cash transfer programs. Their schooling, their education, and their future is in danger. And that's why our silence will perpetuate complacency and rather violence. We have to speak for the entire generation. Now, dear friends, we will not be able to overcome the moral cost of millions of children who are denied education, safety, freedom, and food today. We have, Kerry is the part of it, and she is our leader, with many of the Nobel laureates and moral leaders. We are calling for a fair share for our children. 20% of COVID-19 response, which has been allocated, has to be allocated for 20% most marginalized children and their families in the world. And not only now, but in the budgetary allocations, as well as in the ODA support, this 20% principle should become a norm, and we are demanding that this should be a culture that the marginalized children and their parents, their families should get the fair share. It's a matter of justice. So that these children will not fall into the trap of slavery, trafficking, and child labor, prostitution, child marriages, etc. Coincidentally, 2021 has been announced by the United Nations as the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor. I call upon everyone that since we are inching to 2021, we should not miss this opportunity and build a strong movement, political, social movement, to ensure that child labor is eliminated, child labor is eradicated. Dear friends, we need new norms in politics and economy. We need to create a polity which is child-centric, an economy which is child-centric, a society, faith which is child-centric. And therefore, with all my humility, I have written a book which I finished today and that is going to be released soon. I am recommending 4 things, which I can tell now. First is to overcome that situation and overcome this crisis of justice and morality and civilization. The first and most important thing that we have to globalize compassion. We have globalized everything, market, production, economies, information, technology, etc. But this is the right time to globalize compassion. The second thing is to create a supply chain of gratitude. I am sitting and talking to you today in this room. There are so many people responsible for that. Masons, electricians, plumbers. I am wearing those clothes. I have eaten my food. How many farmers and workers have contributed in these things? I should feel gratitude to them. We have to create that supply chain of gratitude in every sphere of life. The companies, the governments which are sitting in power, businesses which are enjoying their wealth, they should feel and create a sense of gratitude, and that's why I'm calling for creation of supply chain of gratitude to overcome the aftermath of this crisis. Thirdly, I strongly feel that this is the time to create a network of responsibility. I am so pleased to see when there was a slogan in responsibility. This is the time to learn actually that we cannot solve any problem in the world without being responsible to each other. This is the time to learn that the world is interconnected and we are interconnected, and we have to have this feeling and convert into the network of responsibility. We have created the network of things. Why can't we create a network of responsibility? And fourthly, the whole world actually, the technology, the modern technology is very much driven by creating the algorithms and the machines, the big computers, analyze data and create the algorithms, and then within them, the new algorithms are created. So the differentiations of different data create something as a formula for solution. Of course, others are, the big companies are profiting out of it, this big data. But using this terminology of algorithm, I have written that, and I'm calling for creating the algorithm of tolerance. That means we have to respect and we have to acknowledge the power of plurality, the power of differences. And that is very much needed in the world when we see, even before the pandemic, the extremism in all its forms in our different walks of life and faiths and opinions were becoming extreme. This is the time to look for tolerance and work for tolerance. So compassion, gratitude, responsibility and tolerance will help. And that is not new thing. This is very much practical and we have to practice it in our personal, social and political life. Dear friends, once again, I thank you and appeal all of you. Please, the entire generation have to be protected today because they are all our children. The children who are not in school, the children who are working as child laborers, the children who are missing, children who are forced into prostitution or into any form of slavery. If their childhood is denied, if their future is denied, then the history is not going to forget and forgive us. We have to take this responsibility, and your support, your recognition through this award, I'm hopeful and I'm confident that this will help in accelerating our struggle, our fight for safety, freedom, and education of every child. Because the last child of the world is my son, is my daughter. It's your son, it's your daughter. They are all our children. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. Kailash, thank you so much for your extraordinary speech. I was so impressed to visit your rehabilitation center in New Delhi. And I saw, like, all amazing work that you have been done there. And the most impressive that what I learned from you is the story about the bird. The little bird which is flying to the alone, trying to get little water and trying to stop a fire in the forest, while lion and elephant and all of those animals are saying that you are crazy. What are you doing? You are not going to do that. And the birds respond for that. I'm doing my best. And it's just, everyone has to take its own responsibility and its own courage. And you have been a champion for that. It's really our honor to have you with us. Dr. Ismail? Dr. Ismail, unmute yourself.
Ismail, you need to unmute.
I'm unmuted. Thank you. It's a great honor for me to introduce our next laureate, my friend, my colleague for many years, a man I admire. Jeff Sachs is a man of passion and compassion who cares about the fight against poverty, the fight against disease, and the fight against marginalization. He is a man of enormous erudition, and this you may not know, all of you, that I'm not even sure Emma Torres knows that, but that just before the pandemic struck, he and I were working on a project to bring together international scholars from various places to discuss post-Aristotelian logic. That's how far his interests go. But as a man of has a razor-sharp intellect, he turned the dismal science on its head. He brings a breadth of vision and a towering intellectual presence to the fight against poverty, against the pandemic, and against marginalization, and to the fight for sustainability. And the poor and future generations could not ask for a better champion. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my friend and a person I truly enormously admire, Dr. Jeffrey Sachs.
Rovshan, would you like me to say something?
Of course, you are going to say it definitely. We will be honored.
Well, first of all, let me say what a tremendous honor and delight it is to receive this award and to receive it from Ismail, who has guided all of us on this path of sustainable development. So we're following Ismail's leadership and guidance and pathways that he set, and they are so fruitful that they continue to open up new ways of international cooperation that we all are the enormous beneficiaries of. It is a special delight to, not just a delight, it's a profound privilege to be together with Kailash receiving this award. I have to confess that when I read the email, until this morning, I thought I was jumping online to help celebrate Kailash. I didn't realize I had anything to do with today's event. So I was joining to celebrate Kailash, but then I read the last line. I apologize for not having noticed earlier, but thank you for letting me play a supporting role to championing Kailash's work and the leadership that he gives and the inspiration that he gives and the fundamental truth that it is so deep and so real that the future of the planet depends on our children and how we treat them. This is the most basic point of all. And the decency of a world in how it addresses the needs of children. Are they adequately fed? Nutrition, moral guidance, safe environment, schooling, safety from abuse is the profound test for all of us. And it's never been put in a more stark way than during COVID-19, because we have 1 billion children out of school suddenly. We have destitution. We have growing hunger. We have humanitarian crises. And it is the greatest test of humanity and our governance systems of whether we can address these in a urgent, timely, humane, and global manner. And that's really the crossroads that we face now. It's, of course, a profound thrill to receive the award from the Nizami Ganjavi International Center, which is a remarkable institution with Rovshan's remarkable leadership, but which engages the leadership of so many outstanding personalities, people who believe in politics for the good, as Kerry said just a few minutes ago. This was Aristotle's basic idea that the volume on politics is the companion volume to the volume on ethics, that the two go together, and that the basic idea of politics is to achieve the thriving of the community. Our community today is the global community. It is an interconnected world where the fate of every one of us depends on the fate of all of us. And we need to adjust our knowledge and our mindsets and our institutional approaches to create a politics of good at a global scale. It's not easy, and we're in an ongoing struggle to achieve that. We're at a very important moment of that struggle indeed. 2020 has been a devastating year in many, many ways, a year of mass increases of poverty, disease, death, abuse, depression, anxiety, because we've been overwhelmed by a pandemic, and our governance systems have not been impressive by and large. And they were terribly abused by the worst president in American history. Sorry to bring politics into this, but it's we're at the stage of politics. But we are at a crossroads now where we have pledged to go into the new year in a new way. Thanks God, with a new incoming and very decent president of the United States, and one that is committed to global cooperation, and with a very strong message and guidance from the United Nations, our vital international multilateral system of governance, fragile and essential for our survival, with the Secretary General calling for 2021 to be a year of decisive cooperation. We have an opportunity to change things dramatically in the coming months, and with Nizami Ganjavi's leadership and your wonderful role, will together make a difference. We have 4 major international summits on environment coming up, on oceans in Portugal in April, on biodiversity in China in May in Kunming, on the world food systems at the UN in September, and on climate in November. So it's a year of active diplomacy. It's a year in which we must forge a common global cooperative path, and where the United States will return to the international fold rather than having 192 countries within the UN institutions and one fighting from the outside. President Biden will rejoin the World Health Organization on January 20th. The United States will rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. The United States will be, thank goodness, a cooperating country in this global challenge. I think we should take Kailash up on his idea of seeing 2021 as a moment to globalize compassion. And I want to mention one more opportunity that we have for that, in addition to effectively fighting COVID-19, ensuring universal access to the vaccines that are coming on stream, ensuring the access to emergency financing to fight humanitarian disasters, even famine in a number of countries. All of those are vital steps for compassion. But we have another opportunity, I believe, that is exactly along Kailash's vision, and that is that Pope Francis, who we saw in the video just a moment ago, has called for a new global compact on education. We will be launching together with Pope Francis and with UNESCO and with Ban Ki-moon in the coming days an initiative to champion one part of the Sustainable Development Goals, Target 4.7, which is a crucial goal for us. I'll just read it briefly. It is to ensure that all learners, that is children and adults, acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through the education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, the promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and the appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contributions to sustainable development. I think that this is a practical way to help forward Kailash's vision of a globalization of compassion in the coming year by helping to ensure that every child has the opportunity to receive the education and the knowledge needed for sustainable development and for appreciation of global citizenship. So we're going to work on that, Kailash, and enlist you to the cause and enlist us all to the cause. I've been corresponding with Pope Francis about this in recent days, who he is seeing his global compact for education fully aligned with this call for global education for sustainable development, global citizenship, the role of culture, the appreciation of human rights. So I think we can help to move forward that cause of compassion everywhere in 2021. Let me thank you again for the chance to be part of the family of Nizami Ganjavi. It's a great privilege and thrill. Rovshan, congratulations to you for all that you accomplish and all our collective gratitude. And thanks to all the colleagues on the line. What a privilege it is to be working with you and learning from you and enjoying your humanity and compassion. Thank you so much.
Great honor. And one second. Okay. Okay.
I'll go after you to say, wow, thank you.
That's the award, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you so much.
As Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, one and only, one of the greatest, we always say, is the most amazing economists ever we had, mentioned about His Holiness Pope Francis. And we have another board member, Jim Baderschneider, who is working very closely with His Holiness Pope Francis about the human trafficking issues. And would like to ask Jean.
Thank you, Rovshan, and greetings, everyone. It's really a privilege to be here today to honor two very distinguished defenders of human rights and global development, Dr. Kailash Satyarthi and Dr. Jeffrey Sachs. I cannot think of a better time to celebrate their work, and we need to celebrate each of you. So thank you for allowing us to be able to do that. I think we all went out more than you from this celebration, so thank you. You know, as we have watched the pandemic roll across the world, disrupting global systems and increasing vulnerabilities for hundreds of millions of people, and we see it on the ground in our work, we are reminded of two things. One, how important international global efforts are if we are to design solutions that have great efficacy and great effectiveness in real world situations. And two, how difficult it is to ensure inclusion and equitable access to these solutions across all peoples in the world. we are reminded every day in our work on the ground of how difficult it can be to achieve fair and lasting global change. To solve our greatest global changes, from our perspective, we need more than just movements led by civil society and governments. We need more than just commitments from the private sector, sometimes hollow. And we need more than commitments to further research and technology and innovation. What we need most, and I've heard this from both of our recipients, is for these different stakeholders to be working together and create coherent global strategies that address the systems perpetuating inequalities. Kailash, I loved your network of responsibility. I think it's spot on and strongly supported. In the fight against modern slavery, we see how different issues are connected and together create systems that perpetuate the crime. Modern slavery sits at the intersection of global trends like migration and organized crime and global business operations and poverty, lack of education and environmental disruptions, and the list goes on. And of course, the crisis like the one we are facing this year. Knowing how interconnected modern slavery is with these trends, we also know that to make a sustainable progress and transform the systems perpetuating trafficking and slavery, we must address each of these trends with responsible, coordinated globally and across the sectors. And thank God we're into a new administration that recognizes the power of it. It's not easy, as Jeffrey Sachs said. Crafting a global strategy, creating global data to drive evidence-informed policies and decision-making, and facilitating the level of coordination needed to drive systematic change is a Herculean task. But that's what these two individuals that we're honoring here today have done. And for that, we owe them a great debt. As the world's best known economist, and Jeffrey's probably tired of hearing that, as designated by Time magazine, Dr. Sachs has pioneered bold strategies that take on complex global challenges like debt crisis, the control of AIDS, malaria, and other diseases, and the escape from extreme poverty. His work has been pivotal in key junctures of global development. He works with multilaterals, civil society, governments, and he has proven time and again that systemic global change is not only a theoretical construct, but is actually achievable and key to sustainable change. Jeffrey Sachs has committed his entire life to ending poverty and saving the earth. It's hard to imagine a more appropriate person to receive this international award. A Nobel laureate and close ally of the fight against modern slavery, Dr. Satyarthi has not only been a tireless advocate for the rights of children, but also an instrumental actor in bringing the issues of child protection, development, and education into global development agendas. His efforts to build movements, and even more importantly, his success in improving the lives of children through movements that influence policy and action, are a testament, again, to the transformative power of coordinated global strategies. Kailash has risked death in the nonviolent quest to end child slavery. He is a constant source of inspiration for all of us. I've had the great privilege to stay with Kailash and his beautiful family at his home and the ashram like Kerry, and dance with his children and watch them learn and watch them be loved up by Kailash and his team. And to visit the child-friendly villages he has worked so hard to create, he has empowered children to speak truth in these villages, even when we see adults in our daily life who shy away today to speak truth to power. I get chills. When I need to be inspired, I have on my phone videos of those young girls stepping up in front of those elders. And I was like freaking out and talking to them about what their needs are. I can't imagine a more appropriate person to receive this international award. So thanks to both of you for your exemplary commitment to defending the most vulnerable, and to inspiring all of us who are down in the trenches and trying to work on these issues. Your commitment to make this world safer and more equitable is truly something to be admired. You set an amazing and clear example of what we can do when we work together, and love to both of you, and continued working in these areas, and whatever we can do to help, please let us know. Congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you, Diajin, so much. Like, as always, you've been like inspirational. As Dr. Ismail may remember, we met with Jean in a human trafficking initiative in Luxor for so many years ago. And now, if I may call for Zlatko Lagumdzija, former Prime Minister of Bosnia and Herzegovina and our Board of Trustees member.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, it's really hard to say something after such great words of our laureates and dear friends. But after listening to Jeffrey and Kailash today and knowing them for reasonably long time, I have to share with you a few words about our two friends whose greatness is reflecting on Nizami Ganjavi International Award to grow bigger. When I first met Jeffrey a long time ago, I was listening to his visionary words devoted to most successful political path and the economic system that promotes market efficiency, technological dynamism, social equality, and environmental sustainability. It was a long, long time ago, and he was one among the very few who was even thinking about it, and talking about it, and working about it. So he was calling like-minded people and progressive forces to coordinate efforts in our common and primary threat, fighting intolerance and inequalities in our society. But let me start with something that I learned from Jeffrey just a few years ago. I think Ismail and Jeffrey already just reminded me about it just in their comments and their reflections. It was not about economy. It was not about sustainable development or climate change. It was just his call at that time to call me to read Aristotle again, but this time from today's world's perspective. Yeah. So Aristotle famously contrasted three types of knowledge: episteme, or principles of understanding or scientific knowledge; techne, as a technical know-how or making or doing; and pronesis, practical wisdom or intelligence. So today, scientists and engineers have offered the episteme and techne to move rapidly from fossil fuels to zero carbon energy. But now we need more people of pronesis to redirect our policies, economies, and technologies accordingly. We heard from Jeffrey very encouraging things about it. So great episteme and techne may be capable of fixing urgent problems, but only great pronesis leaders, thinkers, and practitioners can create right visions based on full understanding of the ongoing processes and define the necessary pathways. So very few in history are known as the ones who are capable of those three greatnesses: episteme, techne, and pronesis, like Jeffrey and Kailash that we just awarded today and heard enthusiastically and learning something new again and again. Education and movement are two words that I draw out from as a common denominator for Jeffrey and Kailash. They are doers by making education fundamental for global development agenda and by creating movements, and we are part of that impact policies and actions with transformative power or coordinated global strategies. So when I say in few occasions that Jeffrey is the one of two and most relevant economists in the last century, the only question or comment I was getting again and again in response was, who would be another one? So when I was saying in few occasions that Kailash is one of three or maybe four most prominent leaders in history fighting against slavery, the only comment was that I made a good point by not saying there are only two, since it was almost common understanding that I have to think first of Spartacus and Lincoln, as Kerry said, and Moses as well. So I was not confronting that, but was only adding that it is the reason why I'm always talking about anti-slavery leaders that Kailash is part of. Spartacus had no choice but to raise up with swords of slaves called gladiators, and ultimately he lost on a battlefield, but entered in a legend and inspired others in centuries later. Lincoln had a choice, but he had to lead his country through a civil war in order to make it United States of America being beacon of freedom, prosperity, and democracy that the world today relies on and needed more than ever before. Kailash had a personal choice to mind his own business, of course, but he risked death in the non-violence quest to end child slavery and ultimately emancipated more people from slavery, as Kerry already mentioned, than anyone on Earth in last century, and maybe perhaps he's among the top ones in history. We heard today Jeffrey and Kailash from two complementing perspectives, showing us by example that we are here not to be explaining the world, but to be changing it and standing after right ideas, right values that build up through the time. So I think that it is worth mentioning that Jeffrey and Kailash are among the very few leaders and thinkers that made a difference not only in the great textbooks and great speeches, but they walk their talk. And just to end to, I really have to thank Vaira and to Ismail for this gathering. Of course, I have to thank to Rovshan and his small and powerful team with Ilaha and Marin who supported this event. I'm very glad that I see in here Kerry in her full capacity as our member of the board, but also as a reminder about RFK Human Rights Foundation working so closely with NGIC. Of course, I'm also very happy to see Susan Elliott, dear friend, and the president of National Committee for American Foreign Policy, who is here with us as one of the partners of NGIC in very interesting projects, especially dealing with the part of the country that I'm coming from. And of course, Dr. Chow, as our co-chair of Global Circle, is I'm very glad to see him on this occasion. So I hope that today's gathering will help us to open a new page of the book, to keep working on optimistic vision of humankind, to go for realistic and wishful picture or strategies of where we want to be in 2030 and beyond, our shared vision, shared future with shared leadership, in alliance of like-minded people like I consider us, and especially very happy to see such energetic young people who are ready to be with us and have an interest in being with us today, and different entities in search for shared society and prosperity. So go back to Nizami Ganjavi philosophy that our mission is based on as NGIC: dialogue, tolerance, learning, and understanding. The keywords that are defining our mission that is rooted in Nizami Ganjavi philosophy are clearly mirrored in life and work of our today's laureates. And I really congratulate you and thank my dear friends to be able to see them and to hear most of them. Rovshan, thank you very much again, but our laureates are really the best reflection of what we are trying to work in the future.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Actually, nothing would happen without the support of Madam President Vaira, Vike-Freiberga, and Dr. Ismail Serageldin. As a co-chairs, strong presence and leadership, it was tremendous for every success that NGIC is having. And definitely with the board members like Kerry Kennedy and President Ivo Josipovic also joined us, and Jim Baderschneider here and many other peoples, and we are so grateful. And you see, like today, almost we have 45%, because we invited President George Ivanov Young Leaders Program, 11th edition, and also we invited Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Foundation's Speak Truth to Power program, and in order, to spread the message that what we can spread as much as possible. And now, if I may, to ask President Plevneliev.
Thank you, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to talk to you on behalf of the Board of Directors of NGIC. We are sending a message of gratitude, of love, of support, of hope with all of you today. It's such an extraordinary event. And it's not because of the extraordinary circumstances, but it's more because of the extraordinary people we celebrate today. We celebrate people who are shaping and changing the planet for good. We are celebrating wisdom. We are celebrating love, compassion, vision. We are celebrating leadership that so few people in the planet could show today. It's an unforgettable evening and event for me. I'm so proud, really, to be with all of you. Words of wisdom, words of vision, and a motivation and a hope to act. On behalf of the Board of Directors of NGIC, I'm telling you how much we on one side, regret that we cannot see you in your eyes, shake your hand, grab you, kiss you, be with you wherever you are in the world with our mission coming back from the great poets, coming back from the wisdom of the old times and the ancient times, a mission for tolerance, understanding, dialogue, a mission for peace, and a mission for hope. But even not being with you physically today, it's even more unforgettable event that we have today, just because of the uniqueness of the people we celebrate, of the leaders we brought today, of the cause we are all serving, and of the hope that we are spreading all over the world, as NGIC, as we used to call, is a small United Nations, but it's getting bigger, it's getting stronger, and it's getting more and more and more represented all over the world because of you, is having a big ambition, probably even bigger than the one we see today all over the world. NGIC is a true engine of dialogue, tolerance, and understanding. NGIC is a unique institution that is bringing people all over the world together. It's unique because of you, and we thank all of you. And I want to thank our Secretary General for his 24/365 passionate work. I want to thank our co-chairs. I want to thank everyone from the board of director members to the smallest member of our team. Everyone is important, everyone is contributing. And I see, I'm sure all of you share the same vision, how NGIC is filling our countries, our lives with a plan. Because today I see so many young people, and I'm addressing at the end of this great ceremony the young people today. What we learn being heads of state or some of the most famous economists, human rights activists, so many great, amazing people today, we can share with you that actually you can divide people, leaders, projects, whatever, just onto call the one tactical and the other strategic. And we see so many tactics and so many interests and so many games. We don't see much of strategic approach, which is linked to one magic word, that is values. Because the strategic players on the planet are those who have values and who have accumulated wisdom. Dear young people, learn from this unprecedented, extraordinary, amazing ceremony today. Remember it, remember the words of wisdom of amazing people, and spread them. Because when we all complain about what's going on wrong in the world, of course, we need to understand and wake up and say it's up to every one of us, not just to do, not just to complain, but to do something. And that's NGIC is making it so unique. NGIC is having a heart and a passion for efficiency, for results. It is working hard. It is bringing results for a better planet. Thank you. Let's stay and stand together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your remarks. And if we may allow to ask Dr. Chow, Dr. Chow Chak-Wing, who is sharing our global circle of the friends.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.
2020年伊加美中心国际奖颁奖典礼已经接近尾声，受共同主席弗莱贝加女士、伊斯梅尔博士的委托，我谨向所有出席活动的嘉宾表示衷心的感谢，向长期以来支持伊加美中心发展的世界各地的朋友们表示诚挚的谢谢。
inspiring event. Joining co-chairs President Vike-Freiberga and Dr. Serageldin, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all esteemed colleagues and friends presenting and participating in this ceremony. I would also like to thank friends from all over the world for your continuous support to the Nizami Ganjavi International Center.
要向凯拉斯博士表示诚挚的祝贺。你发起了反对使用童工的运动，积极倡导教育平等，这是令人敬奋的成就，也是我们这个世界最需要的榜样。
My sincerest congratulations to Dr. Kailash, Satyarthi. Your fearless efforts in campaigning against child labour and advocating for equality in education is not only inspiring, but an exceptional example of the pivotal action that the world urgently needs.
要向杰弗里博士表示热烈的祝贺。你是一位坚定的可持续发展目标的倡导者。你自己的专长为联合国提供了设计领域广泛的居心服务，这是我们建设美好未来的宝贵财富，也是全球化的多边主义进程所需的。
And my warmest congratulations to Dr. Jeffrey Sachs. As a strong advocate of the Sustainable Development Goals, your expertise and commitment to extensive advisory work with the UN is an indispensable asset towards building a better future for all. This is what we as a global multilateral society need moving forward.
杰弗里博士，你们为后人开拓了前行的道路，也必将为人类社会未来发展的做出更大杰出的贡献。
Dr. Satyarthi and Dr. Sachs, your profound impact has paved the way to an important legacy for many to follow, and I look forward to your outstanding contributions to society in the future.
在此祝两位获奖者，我也要向伯父山秘书长和你的团队表示感谢。谢谢你们组织了这么精彩的颁奖活动。
Once again, congratulations to these two inspiring recipients, and thank you to Rovshan and your team for organizing such a wonderful event.
谢谢大家。
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Chow, so much. Thank you for all your support you are doing to Nizami Ganjavi International Center. And definitely, we can't close without Madam President Vaira Vike-Freiberga for her closing remarks. Madam President, unmute.
Unmute.
Okay.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us this morning, today, this evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for being with us in spirit and in your virtual presence to honor two extraordinary personalities who have been recipients of the 2020 Nizami Ganjavi International Award. Our warmest, best wishes to Dr. Kailash Satyarthi in his continuing fight for the protection of the most unprotected among our societies, children who are the most vulnerable of anybody on this planet. And our warmest congratulations to Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, a man of universal interests and activities. May you thrive in all that you undertake, both of you, and may your efforts find many collaborators and supporters so that your outreach can get better and bigger year by year, and each next year will be better than 2020. Godspeed to you all and to all of you present here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, so much.